What's up guys, CG Inferno here today with another review. Funny enough, I'm doing them quite a bit now. So today's review is for a game called Realm of Ink, which is done by a new studio, which I believe it's their first title that they've released, judging from what I've checked on Steam. So going into this, I wasn't really expecting too much, but I'll be giving you my full thoughts on the game. So that's the story, gameplay, difficulty, improvements, and like final thoughts on like whether or not you should like give the game a shot or not. I do want to make a quick note that I was provided a review code for this title, so thank you guys again for the review code, and without further ado, let's jump right into it. So Realm of Ink. Now if you have played Hades, which is, I'm going to be referencing this quite a bit in this review, essentially this game plays like Hades. So in terms of the story itself, you play as a character named Red, who seems to be going through a endless cycle of I want to say torment, but basically just trying to escape what she can't escape. Obviously eventually you do find a way to escape and everything, but to do that you have to basically obtain all the endings in the game first. You then get an item that allows you to break the cycle in a sense, and then you actually go and get to go do like the true final ending area and everything, and final boss, and then from then on you can see like the true ending and all of that as well. Now the story in itself is pretty basic for the most part. It's just, hey, we're trapped, we're trying to escape, trying to break the cycle, do that, and then you're done pretty much. Like there's no twists and turns, no secret antagonist or anything like that. To be honest, when it comes to these types of games, I don't expect much from the story itself. Mainly it's for like the gameplay, the loot, the like how good it is, going through runs again and again and again. But sometimes it's also good to have a good story as well. But if you're coming to play this game and you're expecting a great story or something, to be honest, I'll tell you that is not the case. It's not a bad story, but it's nothing like out of this world or anything. Like you'll play it and you just be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I've seen that already. Nothing too special, but I do appreciate that they actually did put some effort into the story as well. Now in terms of like the NPCs and stuff in the game, there are quite a few of them in the game as well. Obviously some of them are human-like, some of them are actual animals as well that can talk. One of them you probably kind of recognize from like the meme that we all know and love from God knows how many years ago. But yeah, lots of NPCs to talk to. They all kind of have like their own story in a sense, of like what they're trying to do, but it's like nothing like too deep or anything. So if you're into that and you actually want to go and explore and see these NPCs and see what they're about, they are there. You don't really have to talk to them, but it is kind of nice. They kind of do give you some insights on like certain subjects and everything as well. So that is always good to have in a game. Now as for side questing in the game, that is not a thing from what I've seen compared to, say, again, Hades. This one, it just definitely just seems like on the more, hey, here's your story and that's it. Now in the future, could they add that in? There's always a possibility, but I don't really see that happening anytime soon, and I don't think they want to add that in right now. I could be wrong, but if they actually want to do that, I'm not going to complain. It'll give it more replayability in my opinion. Now the gameplay, which is what most people are here for. So the Realm of Ink gameplay is essentially a roguelite type game. If you played roguelikes, you already know how it works. It's essentially each run will be different. You go into your worlds, fight the enemies, pick up loot, pick up stuff that can buff you and everything, and then go face the bosses, beat them, get more loot, rinse and repeat until you actually finish off a run or so. So my first initial run, that's like literally me booting up the game and then going from point A to point B. I almost got to the end. I reached the 4th stage boss, or I think the first boss, right? And then that's where I died because yeah, it started to hurt a bit quite there. And obviously I don't have like no abilities or anything, or like passives or talents, what they call it in this game. So yeah, I was just literally going in fresh. But considering I made it that far on my first run, I was quite shocked on that, because I was like, yo, this is kind of easy, right? But again, the game does offer multiple difficulties. When you finish, say, a said difficulty, you would unlock a new one. So there's up to 7 difficulties You obviously got easy mode, normal, hard, and then so on and so forth. And obviously when you go to the harder difficulties, they give you more loot, but the enemies have more HP. At some point, some of the bosses will have different move sets as well. So, you know, it keeps you on your toes, gives you that bit of challenge. But, you know, these types of games, they're very, very, very easy to rate. Now, to add on to this whole gameplay thing as well, they have these things called curios and elixirs. These are basically your go-tos to buff your character red, right? So obviously in the first couple of runs, you know, you'll get a decent amount of stuff. You'll have silver coins that you get throughout the game, or your run I should say, which then allows you to buy even more curios from the shops. And then elixirs you can get, you know, if you depending on like what you want to pick for it, the room that you're about to enter, you can do that. There's obviously other rooms where you can say fight like more enhanced enemies and then you get more loot. You can do one where you're just dodging moves, like dodging moves for like 30 seconds or so, you get more loot. Another one where you need to protect the pillar before it breaks from the enemies. So there's a fair amount of rooms that you can get into in the game. Obviously they'll give you loot, which makes you stronger. Now it's safe to say that there are a lot of builds that you can do in the game, and man, it's kind of nuts. Like I would say it's kind of overwhelming, because the amount of, if you look at like the index for the game, right, there is so many curios and elixirs and like other stuff as well to get. Is crazy, to the point I haven't gotten everything yet, and to get everything, yeah, it's gonna take a long time. Now you also have passive abilities in the game, and then you've got your permanent abilities as well. So permanent abilities, you would use a certain currency for that. They're called jade stones, I believe, which you get through beating bosses. Obviously if you beat like more bosses along your current run, you get more of them. If you're on a higher difficulty, I believe you get even more from what I've seen. But yeah, you would use these to level up your character, well, not really level up, but like basically give your character more of an advantage, like at a starting base, right? So that's kind of good to have. There's also said jade stones can also give you new characters to use as well. So in this game, similar to like how Hades works, but this one you would have your characters instead of you just like having another weapon on the character, or on the main character itself. All right. There are quite a bit of characters to use, and then there's obviously a collab with Blazeblue as well. That character's in there, but essentially when you play this character, you're still playing red, because the story still revolves around her. Like they don't have their own individual story, they're just basically like a transmog for the game, right? But they have that their own unique move sets as well. So some's got a staff, spear, any weapons that you can really think of. There's so many of them, right? And to be honest, I found the one who has a staff, funny enough, when it comes to like weapons like a staff or spear, halberd or something, like I always love them type of weapons and characters, right? Funny enough, that she was like my best run to date for the game, right? It was so like the abilities and all the stuff I got for her was so broken. Bearing in mind I was on like difficulty 5 at the time, and it just shredded through everything. So when it comes to builds, there's a lot to do, a lot to play around with, a lot to find out. Obviously you could try and make the same builds that work time and time again, but obviously getting the curios and elixirs for them, you know, obviously RNG, so good luck on that end. Now I did speak about difficulties just earlier on, but essentially as I said, there are 7 difficulties that you can go from, and then once you finish the game, there's also like, I would say like a hidden mode. So again, if you've played Hades, right, or even Hades 2, you have a mode where you can make the runs even more difficult. Bearing in mind you can only do that on the last difficulty in this game. So essentially you give the enemies more HP, maybe you get less HP, they'll get more attack, you get less more attack, stuff like that, right? And I've tried it and it still works for the most part. It's still doable. Obviously if you're not getting the curios and elixirs that you need, let's be honest, you're going to be fighting some of these enemies for a very long time. Like I think one of my runs, it took over 28 minutes, which was kind of crazy, because all my other runs have been like 15 to 20 minutes tops, or even less, right, if I'm playing like on an easier difficulty. But that run was, it was so bad, so bad. So if you are going to try that, just keep that in mind, that some of your runs can be really scuffed to the point where you just want to, call it quits. But, if you ain't quitter, that's good on you. But yeah, I enjoyed what they had to offer in terms of like the difficulty levels. Pretty pleased with it. So kudos to them on doing that. Now, with all that said and done, there are some improvements that I believe should have been added into the game, for the release. Now, the first one, voice acting. Oh my God. Now, I know voice acting is a touchy subject, right? And it has been for like a couple years now for right and wrong reasons as well. But in this game, the game offers English and Chinese audio. And I was playing in English at first, and I've noticed that obviously you do expect the NPCs to talk every single line, right? Obviously, when you first meet them, you kind of expect it, but later down the line, probably not as much, which, I'm more than fine with. If you play Trails, you kind of already know how that goes. But this game, I noticed that even when I was doing the true ending, none of it was like, barely any of it was voiced, and I switched between both languages, which you can do on the fly, right? And it was the same in Chinese as well, and I was like, yo, what's going on in here? So I kind of do hope that they actually add that in, or like finish it off, because I do believe it does add an experience to the game. And if it was early access, I could understand, but because it's full release, I am a bit concerned that this is how it's come out. Now, obviously these guys are probably a small company, right? So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt, but please, hopefully you can, finish it, add it in, regardless if it's even in just Chinese only, that would at least help, right? But again, that's one of the issues. Now, another one for me was the soundtrack of the game. To be honest, I don't know where they was going with it for most of the game. Some parts were pretty decent, but nothing really stood out to me to the point I was like, yeah, I can add this to my playlist, right? So in that front, yeah, the soundtrack was a bit weak throughout the game, which is a shame, because the game actually plays quite well. So I think if it had good music, it would actually help it even more. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe they might add it in, maybe they're not. But again, it's just one of those things that hopefully if they are watching the video, maybe they can just say, hey, we are actively working on it, and then cool, we'll just go from there, right? And one more improvement I would say that can be added in is, or should be, is the difficulty of the game. I noticed that even when playing on the highest difficulty, considering like the builds you can do, you can literally still shred through all the enemies, right? Obviously you have to be careful, because they can still like deal a significant damage to you as well, right? But again, it was, I don't know, it just felt way too easy. Maybe, okay, I'm not gonna go and brag and say, yo, I'm some god gamer, right? Because I am far from that, right? I am old. I'll say old, I'm only 31, but yeah, I'm at that point where I don't even bother to play stuff on hard difficulties anymore most of the time. But this game, I made an exception, and yeah, I was surprised that it was that easy to play through. So maybe they can adjust it through some like the amount of your damage you're doing for some of these couriers and stuff, because I kid you not, some of them are just, when I read the stuff that you get from it, I'm just like, bro, I feel like they just put it in there and just called it a day, didn't really want to test it. But yeah, difficulty, hopefully they can improve on that. Now, with all that said and done, we come to the end. So should you play Realm of Ink, or I should say, should you buy it? Honestly, for the price it's going, I would say, yeah, go for it. It's only £20 here in the UK, which I believe is like 20 or so dollars in the US. I don't know if they're doing regional pricing or whatnot, but it's a very cheap game, which I appreciate in this day and age, because we all know certain games are just coming out and they are charging you an arm and a leg for it, and then it's busted, and then people are complaining and yada yada yada. We all know how that goes. So yeah, honestly, even with all the stuff that I said, like the improvements, the voice acting, the soundtrack, the game is still solid. Like, so there is something good there, right? And hopefully I can say if they can improve on it, then it'll make it even better game. So it's one of those ones where, if you want to buy it and play it, you got nothing else to do, go for it. If you're still on the fence, or you've heard these stuff, you're like, oh, I don't know, then you can always wait, no rush. But honestly, I'll say go and give the game a shot. It's actually quite fun to play and very, very fulfilling as well. So yeah, that's it from me. If you guys got any questions about the game or whatever, please leave a comment down below and I'll try and get back to you. But with all that said and done, I will see you guys in the next video.